This is Benjamin from English Classes Online. I am your English teacher, and in today's lesson, our focus will be on describing a photo. That's the question type we shall be looking at. I'm going to give you tips on how to answer this type of question in the Duolingo English Speaking test. And then we are going to go through some examples, bearing in mind that practice is the best way to prepare for any English proficiency test, Duolingo English test not being an exception. So let's get started right away. Now, before we really get into it, I want to give you some tips. I want to show you exactly some key points that you must take note of. First of all, you are expected to try and describe the image as if explaining it to someone who can't see it. All right? The skills being tested here are your communicative skills, your ability to engage in a conversation and, express your ideas with clarity. That is really very important. So you are expected to speak at a natural pace, describing what you see. And do not panic if you make a mistake or stumble on a word or phrase. Just recover and keep going, all right? You will have 20 seconds to look at the photo before the recording begins. All right? And the record will begin automatically once it is time. So take this time to observe and mentally plan your response before recording your answer, just as I did emphasize during the read aloud practice lesson. You need to always figure out what you are going to do in this speaking test. First, figure it out mentally, plan it, and then you go into it, okay? That is really very, very important. Having said that, remember you have up to 90 seconds, all right, in all, but you are expected to speak for at least 30 seconds. That does not mean that you are restricted to 30 seconds, but at least 30 seconds. Now, you need to speak more than that. In fact, make sure you speak not less than 60 seconds because you have the whole of 90 seconds. But you need to be sure that at least you stop between 60 and 75 so that you won't more than you can chew, okay? But speak as much as possible because the more you speak, the more you win marks. You need to look at the image as you speak. So that gives you added advantage to actually see what you are describing. And of course, that makes the whole process easy. Now, with this said, let's now begin to look at the samples. Now, speak about a photo sample number one. In this, you can see you are given a picture and you are asked to describe aloud the image below. Now, look at the image. The first thing you do is to observe the picture and understand what it's about before speaking. That's very important. Then look at the structure, look at the objects. You can see the four people where they are. They are actually in the foreground, so you can begin with describing them. Then what comes next will be the sandy beach. And then what comes in the background is the blue sky. Now figure out, the structure of the objects in the picture, the structure of the entire picture, and then begin to describe the objects in the foreground. And then you get to the background. And don't just label the objects, don't just mention them, you know, a woman, 3 kids, and all that. You have to be as creative as possible and reach some hypothetical conclusions if necessary. Sometimes you have to figure out what are they doing there, okay? So that is, you have to be as interpretative as possible. All these must come into play. Then you need to avoid the use of filler words such as, you know, and all that. So just keep them very, very minimal. It's natural, but you have to, as much as possible, eliminate filler words. And if possible, really eliminate that entirely. The less filler words you have in your speech, the more fluent you are considered to be. All right, so then again, you can use transition words where necessary. You are not writing an essay. This is a speech. However, it's possible that you can use connectives where necessary just to make your description coherent, all right? Now, having said that, let's now attempt to describe this image, and let me show you how you can do it. Now, you can see 4 people. They are actually human beings, so describe them as people or persons. All right, so you can begin from them. There are 4 people walking on the beach, because obviously you know that this is a beach. All right, and one of them is an adult and 3 of them are kids or are children. The adult is a woman and she is wearing a long dress. You know, describe as much as possible. Then at this juncture, you can then draw some conclusion. You can say, well, it appears that the 4 people are a family, or they seem to be a family. And one could, you know, perceive that the woman is the mother and she is taking her 3 kids to the beach. You know, just draw some natural inference by figuring out the facts you see there. And then having said that, you can now go beyond. Again, one other thing you can observe there is that you can find something like that is yellow. You can call it a yellow object in the middle of the picture. You can mention that as well. And then you are through with those 4 people and the things in their vicinity. Then you move to the next object, which is the beach. How can you describe it? A sandy beach, all right? So you can say that in the foreground, there is a sandy beach, or I can see a sandy beach in the foreground. And that can describe the sandy beach, and then you go beyond it and say that in the background, there is a blue sky. And you are done with the description. So this is exactly how to describe an object. This is how to speak about a photo. And so let's now go to the next one, speak about a photo number 2 or sample 2. Now, again, remember that you have to observe the things I have mentioned in the tips I gave to you. First, look at the picture and understand what it is about before speaking. Now, when you look at the picture in front of us, what can you see? You can see a woman standing, but not just a woman. But when you look at it, you discover that it is actually a classroom, because you can see the people sitting down. Each of them, you know, each of them is wearing a uniform. So they are students, so you can call them students, and you can call the other woman a teacher. And there are some objects in the classroom. You can see a whiteboard, at least even two whiteboards. And one of them seems to be a digital whiteboard. The other one is just a whiteboard. Then you can see a notice board as well. All right, so just the main items, okay, the main items. And then when you look at the people there, you can begin with them, but you can begin immediately with the person who seems to be the leader among them. And so you can say that the photo or the picture shows a female teacher and some students in a school uniform in a classroom. All right? The teacher is delivering a lesson in a standing position. Actually, she's standing, so you have to mention that too. All right? And the learners are sitting on the chairs. Now, you can, in order to actually show your command of English vocabulary, you have called them students, again, you call them learners. Again, you are using a variety of words, which also adds to your proficiency. It proves you are proficient because you have a large active vocabulary that you can, choose from. So that is it. Then you can say, talking about the teacher, you can say that the teacher seems to be expecting an answer to a question she has asked the students. All right. Then if you now watch, you see that actually two of them. So you can say two students seem to be willing to answer the question as they have raised their hand. So you can mention that. Then having described the people, then you move on to other objects and you can say, well, in the background, because you have started with the objects in the foreground. Now you move to the background and you can say in the background, there is a notice board and there are two whiteboards and one of them seems to be a digital whiteboard. And you are through with your description. Okay, so that is how to speak about a picture, how to describe a picture or speak about a photo. Now let's go to sample number 3. Now again, you look at the picture within a very short period of time. You need to look at it critically and be able to understand what the picture is about. So this is a building, this is a house. How can you describe it? It's a bungalow, all right? So this is why you need to really have a large active vocabulary. You should be able to describe the objects you see using the English language, because that is what proficiency is about. Now you look at this, what we have in front of us is a bungalow. A bungalow, it could have could have something up, just as you see, you have an upper room here. And then you look at it, the ground floor, of course, has 2 rooms. And then you add the upper room, you have 3 altogether. So these are things you need to describe. And right in front of that building, you can see visibly there's a swimming pool. And then you look to the far left, you can see a small building there. And if you watch the right, you can see something like a recliner, something that people can relax on. But then in the background, you can see trees. These are all things you need to describe. And of course, you look at the entire landscape and you can see, you can also figure out that there is the sky there, which actually is not quite bright. It seems to be cloudy. So these are things you figure out within a short time. Then you describe them in meaningful English sentences. And let's do it this way. You can begin by saying this picture shows or exhibits or showcases. There are verbs you can use, active verbs, or indicates or presents anything, but you can use very simple, something like shows. You know, this picture shows a duplex house with beautiful interiors and exteriors. Aren't they beautiful? They are. You can say attractive, right? Don't bite more than you can chew. You can use some English words as much as you are capable of using, because this is about proficiency, all right? Then you can say, well, that there are 3 rooms that are visible in the building. 2 of them are on the ground floor, and there is 1 upper room, okay? And all the rooms are well lit, okay? You can see the brightness of the interior of each room, okay? Then you look further, you can then use a connective. You can say, moreover, or also, there is a swimming pool in front of the house and a small building on the left side. On the right-hand side, there is a recliner, which is obviously meant for relaxation. Now, having described these things, you now go to the background, and then you can say in the background. Okay, that's a very beautiful way to describe things. In the background, some trees can be seen, and the sky, which appears to be cloudy, you see. Then, if you still have time, you can begin to look at the whole backdrop of the picture, and you say, well, you can begin to draw some hypothetical conclusion and say, well, it seems that the photographer, clicked this image or this picture or took this photograph either in the early hours of the morning or in the twilight, because you have evidence that the sky is not really bright. So this picture could not have been taken when the sun was shining, all right? So you could figure out that it could be at dusk, it could be in the early hours, it could be in twilight. Just describe it. But if you don't have much time, then once you have given sufficient description, you stop where you can stop. Now, speak about a photo number 4. Again, observing the rules as as I have already given you. Observe the picture. You can see that this is a restaurant, and of course, you can see the chairs arranged, and you can also see the menu there. So these are things you look at. You can look at the walls and everything. Does it really look quite bright, or is there anything that you can describe? So these are things you look at. And then you can say that this photograph exhibits or shows a restaurant with about 8 tables arranged. You can see, you may not be mathematically correct, but you can say about 8 tables arranged. Then you can see the menu, and you can say, well, the menu displayed on the wall, because you can see the menu right there on the wall. The menu displayed on the wall indicates that delicacies like pizza, pasta, and coffee are offered there or served there. Then you can also see that there is free Wi-Fi that is provided as some kind of extra facility to the customers. Meanwhile, no customer can be seen there because the chairs are empty, okay? That is an important observation. Then you can say the walls look old, and it seems that the designer has tried to give them a dusty or rusted look, if you like. You could draw some conclusion, or you could say that, you know, the painter or the designer could have used some kind of dull paint, okay? Anything that you can really confidently conclude, okay? Don't forget, it's your description. You are the author of this description, so feel free to describe what you see and reach conclusions as much as you can. And this brings us to speak about a photo sample number 5. And the picture in front of us, you can see, is a railroad, okay? A railway, if you like, a railway track, okay? So what are the things you can see here? You can see some electric wires, you know, over the rail line. And what else can you see? You can see that the rail actually goes across a bridge, okay? So those are things you can see. So you can say that this image showcases a one-lane railway track. It is one. You don't have provision for 2 passing. It's a one-lane railway track. And then you can say that some electric wires can be seen over the line. There is also a railway over bridge with fencing to prevent trespassing, okay? So that is what you can actually figure out. Then you can also say that, well, the track has trees on both sides, and the fact that there is enough sunshine that is visible indicates that the picture might have been taken in the daytime. So you see how you actually reach some very smart conclusions based on observable facts, okay? Then let's move quickly to speak about the photo sample number 6. And here we have an office in front of us. You can quickly look at the things. This is an office. You can see a person who obviously is a man sitting at his desk. And then you have some computer in front of him. You have some laptops as well. And then, so you have some sceneries hanging on the walls. So these are some accessories, if you like, you know, hanging on the walls. Okay, so now let's look at this. You can say that this photograph or this picture or this image displays an office in black and white. Of course, that's the color. There are no red, there are no green. You just have black and white. That's the color of the photograph. All right, so, and then you say a person who seems to be a man, or who is obviously a man, because it's not just seems, it's obviously a man, is working on a desktop with 2 screens on his table. You can see the 2 screens there. All right. Moreover, 2 laptops are there, one on the left side and another one on the right. So you can see them there. The man is facing the wall. You can see that, okay, as his face is not visible. So his face is not visible, okay, because he's facing the wall directly. So his face is not visible. You can't see his face. All right. Then 3 accessories are hung on the walls. By your right, of course, you can see a window, okay? So you can see that there seems to be, you know, a window with blinds, okay? And there also seems to be sunshine there right there in the office, which indicates that the picture, or which suggests that the picture might have been taken during the daytime. So this is how to describe a photo, okay? Then the last but not the least, we can see again something that actually gives us a picture of a classroom once again. So you can see this time not a female teacher, but a male teacher right here in front of the students. So you can say this picture shows a teacher and some male and female students or learners in a classroom, okay? The teacher is standing and facing the students who are seated on the chairs. The teacher seems to be, asking a question, and I can see a student on the far right raising his hand, which indicates that he wants to answer the question, okay? Then you can say there is a big blackboard on the wall behind the teacher and two bookcases on each side of the board. You can see a bookcase by the right, by this side, and a bookcase the other side. So now this actually is what you can easily do. Just look at what is in the photograph and attempt to describe it as much as you can. And this is where we'll draw the curtain in today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. You can pause this video at any given point in time and try as much as possible to practice repeating the things I have done. Look at the picture and try to describe the picture yourself. Having listened to my description, then just set what I have said aside and try naturally to look at the picture by yourself and see if you can replicate a description that is unique to you, all right? So this is really the way to answer questions correctly. And if you follow this simple procedure, certainly you are going to achieve your dream scores in the Duolingo English test. I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Goodbye for now, and remain blessed.